community interview is made possible by Shaw and Associates.
I'm Dave Shaw, President and CEO of Shaw & Associates. For over 70 years, Shaw & Associates has been your trusted experts for wealth management, tax, accounting, and payroll. We change lives and inspire true wealth, one person, one family, one business at a time. Shaw & Associates is a wealth management investment firm that specializes in taxes, serving as a fiduciary, putting your interests first. You can find more information or schedule an appointment by calling 530-674-1150 or on the web at shawassociatesinc.com. Shaw & Associates is proud to support community radio.
And I always say, and we're grateful for Dave supporting community radio, but the man is sitting here, and I'm not going to say it.
Just burst my bubble.
You know what I mean? He'll just have to get a wheelbarrow to get him out of here, right?
Exactly.
How you been, Dave?
I've been good, Fish. How about yourself?
Good. Have you had a chance to go back and visit back east at all, or you been busy?
Oh, we've been busy. Things are running fine back at the ranch. Talk to the family, 2 or 3 times a week and everything. So we've got a lot of stuff going on there, and it's been hotter than heck there.
Oh, I bet. And humidity.
And the humidity. I think the heat index at the ranch today was supposed to be, 107 or 109. And the temperature is only going to be like 98, but the heat index pushes it about 10 degrees higher.
Gosh.
Yeah.
I've been announcing the Freebird games, right? And so, we're up in the booth and that. So I walked in the other day, and they have this little gal, Maggie, that sits there, and she does ticketing and stuff. Really nice gal. And she had one of those things that you get wet and stick around your neck. Yeah. So because I had mentioned to her, wow, Maggie, it's really hot, And so and I said, man, I don't like it when it's this hot. And she said, Fish, you're up in the air-conditioned booth. What are you talking about, right? It's like, yeah, okay, I'm moving on. Can I get you an ice cream?
You're suffering for baseball. You know what you're doing.
Exactly. What can I say? Yeah. So it's been really, really good. You're really busy. So this is what I think of Dave Shaw, right? So I think the guy's got nothing to do until it's tax time.
Oh, no.
So after tax time, he just floats for 8 months out of the year.
Nope.
Am I wrong?
You are extremely wrong. You grab onto the tax side, but Fish, you forget we are a wealth management firm, meaning investments and financial goals and portfolio management that specializes in tax, because we carry the dual credential, or multi-credential, because we carry all the credentials we need on the investment side, and then we carry the top tax credential as EAs, so which makes it very, very unique.
So if you got rid of the investment side and just did taxes, you'd have 8 months a year, you'd be free.
Yeah, no, that didn't work either.
So, hey, call me for more financial tips, Dave.
Something tells me you're trying to get me to retire, Fish. I'm not sure what's going on here.
That's not going to happen, right?
No, not at all.
So offline, we were talking just a little bit. You just got to go to a huge financial deal, right?
Yep.
So tell me a little bit about that. Where was it and what happened?
I was in Salt Lake City, Utah. We are, our broker-dealer is Advantax, which is a channel of Cetera Financial. So Cetera is really our broker-dealer, and they have about 12,000 financial advisors in the world. We're fortunate enough to be in the top 1.5% of all of those advisors in the world. And they had a conference, an investment conference there in Salt Lake, and had over 3,000 financial advisors there. It was amazing. What I love about the conference, and I always come back really jazzed about it, is not, you hear these other people, they'll go to conferences and they jazz them up about selling this, selling that, doing. No, it's a chance for me to get to sit down with some of the sharpest minds in the U.S. And in the world about decisions I'm already making, what I'm seeing in the markets, because, what makes us different is, we don't take a portfolio off the shelf to someone back at corporate, made that portfolio. You don't know who's running the portfolio. We're actually managing the portfolio. So we're deciding the stocks and the ETFs and things that go into that. And so we have to be very much in tune with the market. So when I'm sitting down and, getting to hear from like Dr. Kelly, who is the chief economist for JP Morgan, That's a little company, right? So
yeah, those guys, what they have, maybe 10, 12 clients.
Yeah, so
Million.
yeah, I mean, it's when you're listening to the people that Jamie Dimon is listening to, and with the trillions and trillions of dollars that he's entrusted with, and everything we're seeing all lines up. It's a good checks and balances because it's a reassurance that we are heading in the right direction with what we're seeing in the market, and then you get to hear from other economists and people that give insight, everything from what's going on in DC to what's going on in the markets, what's going on in certain sectors, and then the highlight was I was very honored, and we were talking about this, very, very honored. Out of over 3,000 people that were there, they chose, it was about 20, maybe 30 veterans. And we got to enjoy breakfast with Admiral Grady, who just retired last November as the Vice Chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Wow.
And, that was, a breakfast, totally unscripted. Everything's on the table. We're talking, veterans to veteran and, just about, everything from what's going on militarily, what's going on in the U.S., how it's going to, even how it's going to relate to the markets and how it's going to relate to us as Americans, and getting his insight, because that man has more insight and knowledge than any of us do with what's going on in the world. But beyond that, it was just a great honor to be asked to be a part of that and sat down with him. And wonderful man. Really see why he was the Vice Chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. So.
This old bishop told me that that everything in life is like standing on a step ladder in a cornfield.
Okay.
And so most of us are standing at the bottom of the ladder and can't see above the cornfield, right? And then as you get more knowledge and you know things, whatever your particular field is, you go up the rungs of the ladder until pretty soon you can see things that most people can't see. So it really doesn't matter what it is. And when you were talking about him, it's like that's why he's at the top of the ladder.
Right.
He can see over the cornfield. He's having to make those kinds of decisions. And so now here is my Dave Shaw question of the week.
I had toast for breakfast, okay?
Do you feel set up at all, Dave?
Always.
So when it comes to finances, and you get to go to this, most of those people that you met back there, and some you knew about before you ever met them, they're really up at those top rungs of the ladder, aren't they? Mm-hmm. So you get a chance to go with them. Did you feel like going back and doing that, you stepped up another rung of the ladder? You can see things you couldn't see before?
Really, using your analogy, with the access that we have, that I have and our firm has, I feel like we're pretty high up on that ladder as far as the information that we can see. It's really, it's more of just a collaboration of confirmation, if that makes sense. Because let's talk about the economy.
Okay.
What I've been seeing in the economy and meeting with clients, meeting with new clients, and managing their assets is, overall, the economy is good and the economy is strong. Now,
I believe that.
Transfer that to what we feel here in California with our pocketbooks. Most people are going, "You're crazy," because gas is, $7 or $6 a gallon, and diesel. Well, gas is $6, diesel $7. Energy costs have been going up. All these things. We have to take a step back and look at the global picture, really. We have to look at domestic, we have to look global as well, and we have to really understand one thing. So I'm going to give you the one thing first, and then we'll go through the economy. The one thing is California is broken. We don't want to go down the political rabbit hole, but the pain we feel is caused by the nonsense in Sacramento. They just did more yesterday, as we was talking about, because in 2033, apparently we're only going to be able to buy some kind of cheap tire that's going to cost us 10 times as much as they should. So whatever that is. But that's the nonsense that comes out of our governor and the failed leadership that has California, that they keep doing to us. Now let's step back and look at the the economy, okay? Because we know what's going on in California. As I meet with people, one of the concerns they have is they've said they heard it on the TV, that we've been in this bull market and recession's going to get here. Recession is coming, and I ask them why they feel that way, and it's usually a symptom of what I just talked about: high gas prices, food, energy.
Yeah.
But then it's more just because they've heard it on the TV. They've heard the media hype. So, when I'm looking at the underlying things, I have to take the emotion out of it. I'm just like you. I hate pulling up to the gas pump and it's $175 to put gas in my truck,
Okay, I'm not borrowing your truck ever. I am never going to ask you to borrow that beast.
It's got a 30-gallon, it's a diesel truck,
gosh.
so you pop it in there and it's $175 to fill that thing up with diesel. But where I'm getting is, let's take a step back and look at it, okay? And let's look at the history of the U.S. In order to go into a recession, certain things have to happen. And let's look at what's actually happening. Well, first of all, inflation is actually coming down. Inflation is higher than where we want to be, but inflation is all the way down. The last report was 3.4%, okay? You have unemployment rates that continue to drop. You have the Producer Price Index, which continues to slowly move instead of drastically moving. You have consumer confidence, which is there. You have consumer spending that is going on, and we track that by what are people spending on. The data shows that people are starting to take vacations again and go on these trips. Also, what we're looking at is how much consumer debt is going up, and consumer debt is staying stable. It's not inflating, so they're paying for it as they go. So you see the discretionary income, and the biggest impact that we have is we have capital investment in America in manufacturing and such, which is all pushing us in the right direction, and is pushing the GDP positive. So it's staying positive. Never in the history of the U.S. have we had all of those things going in the right direction have we ever ended up in a recession. So when you look at from a statistical standpoint, looking backwards, the chance of that happening are pretty much slim and none. Okay. Now, as I've told people, there's always the wild card. Something could happen in the next 5 minutes that upends everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I go back to the pandemic we dealt with in 2020. Yeah. There's always the wild cards, but we can't live our lives on the wild card. We have to live with what we know is happening, and we have to be very cognizant and aware of where the market is going, where the economy is going. And going back to conversations that I had while I was in Utah, things that we already know. Once this conflict in the Middle East is resolved, and it needs to be resolved. It's needed to be resolved for 50 years. Okay? It's nothing new. They're bad actors, and we need to deal with that. But once that straightens itself out, typical oil price that the market price is in is about $70 a barrel. We've been 80 and 90. It spiked up to 120 at one point, but it's been hanging just a little higher. But, we're not going to see, the market's already baked in $70 a barrel, okay? So if we stay right in that range, market's going to flourish.
Good to go.
If price of oil goes back down to where it was 30 years ago to $40 a barrel, then the economy will even move faster.
Yeah.
But then we get back to California. Let's look what California has just done to go further negative. They have stopped, they want to stop refineries. They want to stop even energy production because the governor just failed to extend the nuclear power plant's term that it can run. So our grid's about to get overloaded again when that term's out. You got all the things in California going the negative way because of failed leadership. But when you look at the economy as a whole in the U.S., things are expanding. Okay.
Is that, Dave? Do you think that's? Do you think that the bad financial decisions, not political, financial decisions that the California government has made, do you believe that's what caused people to leave? And when I say people, I don't mean your average citizen that says, hey, I'm going to go over here and get a job in Illinois, right? Mm-hmm. I'm talking about business. And so if they continue, is that going to be a deterrent for businesses? Because you talked about manufacturing. Is that going to kind of stifle these manufacturers that's growing the rest of the nation from coming to California? Are they going to go, we don't want to go there, it's too expensive?
Absolutely. Absolutely. All of these things hurt California, in ways that that most people can understand. I mean, here's a common one. We all see this, that big Budweiser plant in Fairfield with all the big windmills and stuff closing.
Yeah.
It's all those jobs lost. Everything's leaving California. Businesses are leaving California because California is too difficult to work with, too expensive to work with. And, I get back to where we started. It is politically and personally profit motive, driven, because the people that are putting this stuff forward, you just look at this stuff that's going on, there's something in it for them to be doing these types of things. Or they wouldn't do it. So, again, I don't want to go down the political rabbit hole because we could get lost there for days with where we're at.
Well, the only political side is if the people that are currently in power are not making decisions to better our life in California, pick somebody else. It's not difficult. It's not based on left or right. People want to make it left or right. It's financial. If the financial situation in California, that the regulations, and I hear from everybody, we're overregulated. If the decisions are being made by our government, then they're making decisions that we don't agree with. I don't care whether they're a Democrat, Republican, I don't care about that. But financially, if you're making bad financial decisions for the state of California, and people aren't going to want to move their business here, which gives us jobs, then let's vote somebody else in and just look at what candidate will be pro-business.
Yeah,
probably more than anything, pro-business.
Yeah, you're exactly right because
what? Well, say that again. Wait a minute. Did everybody hear that?
You're maybe right.
Darn,
no,
almost.
It boils down to California has got to learn to be open for business and open to business, just like we did here in the local government.
Yeah.
We can do everything we can do here locally, but then if the state mandates things down or does things, that hurts us all. At the end of the day, what we're looking at is, our economy is built on capitalism and growth and entrepreneurship, and there's this mantra that we're after big corporations, we're after this. Everything they put forward, they may target and say that's what it's going to be. It affects every business all the way down, and so we've got to put the nonsense behind us and get going, because exactly what's going to happen, and it's already happening now, is what happened back after the Great Recession back in 2008. California was one of the very last ones that came on us. Yeah. We're going to be one of the last ones that recover from this. And just take oil, for example. There's no reason. Oil and energy, we have the capacity to produce that right here in California, refine it in California, keep the prices down. Our leadership has chosen not to do that, but go the opposite direction. So we are bound to bring oil in from somewhere.
Somebody had told me that, Dave, that we could produce all the oil we need in California, but we're buying from somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes zero sense.
Consequently, if we're driving a diesel truck, that fish is never going to borrow to move anything.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It is what it is. So let's get back to the market over here.
Yeah.
So the people that maybe have fears of, when's this bull market going to end and when's recession going to here, really, that should be off the table at this point. You need to be cognizant of it, but it's off the table. And that's where someone like myself as a financial advisor comes in, because that's what we do. We mitigate or reduce the risk to try to get you the returns that you need to get you to your financial goals. And that's key, because a lot of times you go in and sit down and talk with people, and first thing they want to talk about is risk. And here's and here we're going to put you into this. Wrong conversation. The conversation should be finding out, Fish, what do you and your lovely bride want to do at your age? What's on the horizon for the next several years?
We want to travel. We want to, right? I love what I do, Dave. Yeah. I love it. I love this community. But I'm telling you, throw my little bride in the car and let's go. Right?
There you go.
She loves to travel. She loves to see stuff, and I like to do that. But I couldn't live like that. Right, I couldn't live just traveling. So if you said, what do I want to do? I want to do what I'm doing, but I do want to travel. But I'm not borrowing your truck to go travel. I'd get as far as the county line and have to call you for a loan to get gas to go to the next place. That's crazy. So is there any as you look down the road of changes in California,
right,
do you see anything that's a bright spot, or do we just weather it because California is a great place to live?
Number one, absolutely. California is an incredible place to live. We have one of the most beautiful states there is, with natural resources around. It's really, we got to wait to be seen what happens in California, but it's up to all of us, because there's that little thing coming up in November that can change things.
True.
But we have to really look and see what people want to do. We were talking John earlier. I'll quote John Cassidy. He says, "We are an island of sanity and a state of insanity up here," and that is really true. We have a very unique community that looks forward with things, and we don't we don't typically put up with the nonsense up here. We want to do what's best for our community. We want to do what's best for each other, and that's kind of our key characteristics right here. I've never seen and been a part of a community that gives back as much as this community does.
Yes.
And we are honored to just be a part of that, and we've been blessed in the business, and we have just given so much back to this community and continue to. It has nothing to do with my political office. This is just who we are.
Yeah.
And it's that balance that everybody kind of brings to the table. I know it there. I was looking to see if it's still over here, because Crystal might have left it over there, but the Yuba River Endowment was just in.
I was really tempted, knowing you were coming in, to put it back up there.
I was, and Crystal, just so you know, we were going to change the name on that from whoever it was to Dave.
No,
D-A-V. No, I'm kidding. But no, it's let's take those families. I was going to say gentlemen, but let's take the families, because it's the farmers and their families.
Yeah.
They came together and saw an opportunity, and they are being a blessing to different organizations and stuff, and students, FFA, and everything in this community. They are giving back. They are creating a legacy that is moving forward, and that's actually what we try to do with our firm as well. It's not just about today. We're creating a legacy, and if you think about it, when we get to the financial side and we're talking about where the market's at and where we're going, the question I would ask you, where do you guys want to go? It's really, the true technical question is, Fish, what do you want your legacy to be? How are you wanting to bring this thing forward? So you can see how it's a process to go through, and that's just the process. We've gone from the market to process now, but we've got some incredible people here, and the Yuba River Endowment, those families, because it's not just the farmers, it's all of them.
Yeah, it's really amazing.
Yeah, they are an incredible group. So back to the market, you need, and we were talking about this earlier, one of the key components that people have to disconnect from their retirement plans, their personal investments, is emotions. They have to take that out, because as a professional, I'm looking at all the technical stuff, and I'm aligning that based upon what their goals are. It's not the opposite. I'm aligning their portfolios and the technical things they need to their goals. Now, with that, I have to take the emotions out. And so you get some stock that all of a sudden takes off. News hits, it takes off. We'll go back to the IPO that happened a few weeks ago, or it's actually been a little over a month or so now, but when SpaceX came out.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
When that, this is looking historically, when that came out, they priced it, it shot up like crazy, and now it's way back down. Okay. There were people that wanted to be a part of that for other reasons than the market. They wanted to be a part of it for, just because they liked the company, they liked the owner, they liked different things, they wanted to, and that's fine. But again, you've got to mitigate the risk. It's got to be in a small percentage. It's got to be, very focused. And there's got to be the conversations of, we know this is going to happen because this is what always happens. Okay. But you have to take that emotion out, because if you take that emotional thing, and we'll go back to what happened that day, it came out and then all of a sudden it shot up by over 30%. Okay. Your emotion goes, I got to get into this. I want to do this. And so you're jumping in, and then it goes the other way. And you can't invest in the market on an emotional basis. It's got to be a very thought out, deliberate, calculated, diversified, targeted investment strategy that gets you to where you're going to be.
So if the market goes up and down and your emotions go up and down, it's too hard to time that. So they line up. It's
Exactly.
not going to happen.
Exactly. And it's great because I always, talk to the people in the community because they know what we do and stuff. I'm like, oh, well, I bought so-and-so, or I bought so-and-so, and I've done this and that. And you can feel it. It's out of the emotion. And that emotion wave, it actually has very specific psyches. Think about it. You got to get a part of it. It goes up. It gets at the top. You're thrilled. It starts to coming down. You're going, well, it'll go back up. And then it drops a little bit further. Crud. It's got to go back up. And then it goes down a little further. And you're like, crud, I can't get rid of it because now, I've lost money, And so that's the emotional side. If you hear it on the news, or you read it in a magazine, or, if it's true and it's on the internet, I'll qualify it for that. But if you're hearing things there and you're trying to react, you're already too late.
You're already behind it.
Exactly, because, we don't have any, nobody has insider information, anything like that. But what we're looking at is, a diversified portfolio. We're looking at the technicals. We're looking at the PE ratios. We're looking at the fair price estimates. We're looking, it's public knowledge that companies will be, what they're doing in the future. It's like, that's why we listen to the quarterly earnings, but more importantly, we're listening to their future guidance because they'll tell us where they're going. And so when we're looking at all of that, really the moves happen way back over here before you ever get to the actual event. And so back to what we talked about earlier, it's really, really important to work with a financial advisor. It's really important to work with a financial advisor that understands the market, that's actually managing things, that isn't pulling something off the shelf to do. So
years ago, there was a band called 10 Years After. And one of their songs said, tax the rich, feed the poor, till there are no rich no more. Right? And it's like that became a mentality. So on the news, I hear them saying, we need to tax the billionaires, right? And then apparently there aren't enough billionaires. So now they're going to tax millionaires, right? Pretty soon they're attacking and taxing the thousandaires, right? And so, but nobody talks about the trillionaires because there's only one, and so they really can't quit. But I'm just trying to say, look, it's like they come up with all these ideas based on money, taking it instead of thinking we actually live in a nation where you can make money.
Right.
There are actually ways you can go to work, you can make money, and then you can end up with some money that you can give to somebody and say, would you invest this? Help me reach my goals. That's the truth. That can happen. Mm-hmm. The idea of I'm just going to go take somebody's money, that has never worked. And it's like at some point, it reminds me of when my boys were young, Dave, I didn't want to just give them everything. Even though I didn't grow up with anything. I left home at 15. I worked my way through high school. If it were not for the military, I'd have probably been a lost boy. I think I was anyway, but but that at least helped. So it's like I wanted them to understand there's a real joy in two things. One, go to work, make money. Mm-hmm. And then number two, begin to look around and see who's up higher on the ladder and go learn from them. I don't care whether it's your job or your finances. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there, they have money, but they're not really sure what to do with it. And they could end up, to your point, where they just emotionally say, oh my gosh, this just happened in the stock market. I'm going to go grab that. And then they end up in a bad situation because they're not high enough on the ladder to see what needs to be seen. I do think it ends up being a trust issue. For whatever reasons, people trust 93Q. They trust us to try to get the best information out that we can, which makes me wonder why I have you here. But, did I just say that publicly?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to pay for that one. And so, no, but it's like, I want that. I want people to know what's available in our community.
Right.
And I want them to know. That's why I ask you, when you're around all these incredible financial people who make a difference in the world economy, our nation's economy, and being able to even look at the state's economy and go, yeah, folks, I get it. I just paid a lot of money for diesel, but I have hope. Because I know everything doesn't stay the same. It's all fluid, and it's like I wanted to end on this point, and that is, you talked about we're in an unusual situation where normally we come out of a bull market and it levels off. And you made the statement, we're actually going back into it.
Exactly.
Can you touch on that just for a minute?
Yeah, typically when you have the cycles of a bull market, you have the early bull market, then you have the peak of it, and then you have late bull market. And typically late bull market is where things start slowing down, and it just may be a slowdown, and then it goes back into another bull market, or it could be a slowdown that goes all the way to a recession. So it's that's where we were about 18 months ago, maybe 2 years. That's where we were. Again, what the economy has done with all the expansion that's been led by this administration and getting manufacturing going, looking at clearing the obstacles. And this is huge because we see all of these companies, and some of the media tries to really distort how important this is. But they talk about all of the capital that is being invested in companies and manufacturing and stuff. That is what leads to a resilient economy and better jobs, better wages, everything. It all gets there, but you have to have the investment first. So with that, with all the mechanisms that's gone into place to bring down unemployment, bring down inflation, get everything back, our market cycle, there is a clear-cut case that it has moved from kind of late bull back more to the peak of the bull cycle. And so very optimistic, as I always am, on the market. But at the same time, it gets into those rules. You have to be very diversified. You got to be very purposeful. You got to know what's in that portfolio and why it's in there. And but I think we've still got great days ahead of us. We do have the pain of oil. And unfortunately in California, oil and energy, we're not because of really what's going on in the market and the economy, but because of California, we're probably going to feel that pain longer than the rest of the nation.
Yeah. All right.
So,
like I said, I'm not borrowing your truck. Unless I get your gas card with it. Dave, thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Fish.
This community interview is made possible by Shaw and Associates.
I'm Dave Shaw, President and CEO of Shaw & Associates. For over 70 years, Shaw & Associates has been your trusted experts for wealth management, tax, accounting, and payroll. We change lives and inspire true wealth, one person, one family, one business at a time. Shaw & Associates is a wealth management investment firm that specializes